The State Fair Music Hall rests in the midst of a stew of controversies which have been popping up one after another all fall. The seeds of the noisiest one to date were planted last year when the Park Board, unhappy with the poor appearance of the auditorium, directed that the biggest part of the remodeling funds go to refurbish the public areas, with a minimum for additional dressing rooms and storage, and none for stage renovation. This is analogous to asking for a luxury restaurant without updating the kitchen. And when that concept was corrected, everybody began to learn how hard it is to plan a performing hall that will work for everyone who has to use it. The music hall stage is what is known in the theatrical business as a hemp house. That means that hanging scenery and backdrops for most productions are fastened onto pipes which spread across the stage area and are raised and lowered by means of ropes or lines, fastened to the pipes and pulled up or down and into place by stagehands. The ropes pass over a kind of pulley high above and are returned to this loft to be secured around steel stakes. Sandbags fastened to them facilitate control of the heavy scenery as the stagehands lift it up and down, a delicate and potentially dangerous operation. In more modern houses, these ropes are steel cords, and the sandbags are replaced by rows of counterweights against the wall, automatically operated. Thus, the business of taking down these hangings and replacing them with the scenery for the afternoon's opera would be a quicker and safer business. Not all the sets go all the way across the stage. Some extend out only partially or are hung diagonally, as are these for the setting of the Dallas Civic Opera's recent production of Fidelio. It takes many, many rows of pipes to accommodate any kind of imaginative setting. This is a problem of the opera and of the summer musicals, as well as of traveling companies for plays and ballets. It does not concern the symphony. If the symphony plays in the music hall, it must have a thin wooden shell behind it to keep all that glorious and expensive music going out front where it belongs rather than up in the flies. That shell must be hoisted up into those same flies when somebody besides the orchestra is using the stage. The equipment for the lifting devices cuts into the space into which scenery lines can be hung. That's one conflict to be resolved. Lighting is another. This old light board is obsolete. New plans call for an electronic board to set stage lights for 2 changes ahead of the one in use. This will serve the musicals, the symphony, and some traveling companies. It will not be sufficient for the opera and for more complicated stagings such as ballets. Everybody agrees on the need for more room for the huge portable controls which must be rented and moved in for all performances. Now they are housed in this little space that used to be a property room, and the stage manager directs their operation through earphones. Architects say that when these old lights are removed, there is a triangular space behind them which will accommodate the equipment specified and leave room for additional rented boards as well. Another part of the music hall's problem is its initial stage structure. An 18-inch masonry wall is at the back of the stage. There is not sufficient storage space behind it, so expensive sets and platforms have to be stored in the open under plastic sheets and brought in first through this exterior door, then through this cramped opening onto the stage itself. Architects will provide more of these doors at the back and raise them in height to 30 feet, but say they cannot move the masonry wall without great expense or possible threat to the supporting walls of the auditorium itself. The footlights are another problem. These old ones are permanently installed at the bottom of a sloping trough and are used by traveling shows, occasionally by the musicals, but never by the opera, which prefers portable footlights with their easily removed and infinitely variable gelatin covers. The flip-flop lights are there so that the orchestra pit may be put on a hydraulic lift, which would reach about to the outer limits of the present pit and could be raised flush with the stage. The symphony wants that very much. So do the musicals, especially for the big variety shows. It's no good to the opera. The symphony cares little about dressing rooms or rehearsal space. Both the musicals and the opera need them desperately. Everybody does agree about the necessity for a renovated wardrobe room. This old dressing room is hardly a facility for either a major opera or musicals company. On one item, everyone is happy. Years ago, the great curtain would open only from the center, traveling vertically back to the sides of the stage. In later years, it was designed to roll only up and down. In the new plans, and at last, The curtain will go either way.